How's everybody doing? Is Ezra here? We're representing the St. Louis branch, and I'm here with my fellow St. Louisans. Shelby here.
Peace, peace.
Peace, everybody. We also have Veronica here as well.
Peace, everyone.
Yes. And we also have Elder Jeffrey, who should be coming out shortly to speak about the judges. But before we talk about the judges, how's everybody doing?
Oh, great. Great.
Doing really good, really good. Getting over a little of the cold change,
Yeah.
a little nasally, but we okay.
It's getting cold, man. It's getting really cold.
Yeah, it's starting to get cold, like,
It's tells us
really
the
quick.
month. Yeah, really quickly. We noticed here in St. Louis, right after the last night of Tabernacle, right after the Feast of Tabernacles, for literally the next day, we saw
Literally,
just temperature drop, literally. So
yes. Like the
we felt
next
that
day was
here
freezing.
here in St. Louis. So we're supposed to have. Okay, here we are. Here we are. We have our elder Jeffrey here.
Peace. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
Oh
you
my goodness. Right. Peace, everybody. I'm actually traveling, but I definitely didn't want to miss this. Looking forward to the discussion of the judges. Peace, everybody. And we were on backstage. We were prepping for this, and everything turned out fine. And as soon as it started, boom, my network went down. So,
Wow.
I'm sorry. You guys can hear me okay though?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. Well, it's good, everybody. Listen, I'm in good hands. Leave you guys, no matter what happens. If my signal goes up and down, we got Ezra, Shelby, and Veronica, who definitely can definitely take the message on. So keep moving forward. If for some reason I'm able to, I drop.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do.
Yes.
Well, it's just peace, everybody. Again, St. Louis branch in the house, and again, we're all over the world. We're all Israelite Nation World Ministries. So as we're traveling, we make sure that we can definitely participate and take care of what we need to take care of. So we're happy to be here for Friday night Bible study. All right. So how is everyone? Ezra, Shelby, Veronica. I know I seen you were talking about the end of Ethanim, I think. Were you, Ezra?
Yeah, I was talking about the end of Tabernacles, but we did have an end to Ethanim as well. We're in our new month, but actually the Sabbath just ended, so happy Sabbath everybody out there celebrating spirit and truth. But I'm doing well. I'm in good spirits.
Good,
Okay.
good, good.
Mhm.
Shelby,
How
how
are
you doing?
yeah? How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Like we said, happy Sabbath, everyone. We just finished, or we're about to be at the end of it now. And I just did a bunch of reading, and we went over the judges. Watched our last episode just to kind of refresh myself to getting back into it again. I'm ready to go. Hopefully, I do very well. Well, by Elder Jeffrey, I hope you traveling safe and
Thank you.
ready to go. That's
Yes, yes. How about you, Veronica? How you doing?
I'm doing great. And happy Sabbath to everyone. I'm
Yes,
doing great. I enjoyed my Sabbath. I enjoyed my day of rest. It was great. Yes.
yes, yes.
Nice.
Okay, and peace, everybody that's joining us. Peace to Florence. Peace to George, Elder Denise. Let's see all these people that's joined us. Peace, Felicia, just Albert, everybody. Just peace, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for your patience. Again, as we know what we do. We make it work no matter what. I'm excited about today because today is, and I'm saying it and I'm owning it. Today is the last session for the judges. So I'm glad to put an ending on that. It's almost felt like it was going to be perpetual, but we wanted to really every time we would start a discussion and one of the judges, we end up with just going to it deeply. We're like, we don't want to leave any of these things by the side. We want to really flesh out, some concepts that are going to be helpful for us. So ended up being a lot longer than we thought, but we are up to the point. We are at volume 6, Judges, volume 6. Today we are definitely going to cover the two main stories towards the end of the book of Judges. And then be able to sort of close out this sessions, these sessions. So hopefully everybody's having fun and enjoying the deep dive into the Book of Judges. I think the way we did it, that someone who has doesn't know the Book of Judges can take up these 6 sessions and be able to leave it or walk away with it with a really deep understanding of the Book of Judges and how it is not just from a historical point, but also as the foundation of our family and even a connection to us today. Because I think there are a lot of connections to us today and a lot of things that we can glean from it. So if we could just get started, we got two heavy stories to talk about today. Judges of Israel, Volume 6, final chapters. I should have made that subtitle, the final chapters. All right, so let's jump to the next slide and we can get started. So we know the cycle of sin that we had in the Book of Judges, where we came into the land. The God of Israel helped us subdue the land. And then, we had the job, we had the laws, the statutes, the commandments, which details not just how we worship God, our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, but also how do we live, right? How do we till the land? How do the roles of men, the role of women, the role of the priest, just all the whole structure of our society, right? The promise was when you go into the land, if you establish this law in your land, then you will be the greatest nation on earth, right? You'd have peace, you'll have power, you'll be able to stand against your neighbors, you'll be able to worship the God of Israel in spirit and truth and one accord and one spirit, and that was the intention. Unfortunately, as we know, one of the phrases, you guys tell me, what's one of the phrases that keeps getting repeated over and over again during this time? Look, Shelby smiling, he knows what it is.
Israel does evil in the sight of the Lord.
Absolutely.
Always the same thing. We got to
stop. Absolutely. And then the punishment the God of Israel gives us, which is not a shocker. He said he was going to do it, going back in when he gave us the law, statutes, commandments, the blessings and the curse. If you follow, I'm going to bless you, be the greatest nation on earth, and I will be there with you. But if you do not follow, then I will curse you, right? And pretty much the summary of that is I will send you into enslavement, and he would punish us. But it's not a perpetual. It's not a casting away. It's a punishment to help to correct our behavior. And the reason the Book of Judges is called the Book of Judges because he would send a judge, why would he send a judge?
To judge us.
Yeah. Elaborate.
Send a judge so that we have some way to know of our wrongdoings, to be aware of our issues that we have in our society. Because at the time we constantly saw, when you look at the cycle, the cycle implies a loss or not being able to fully understand and take on the law for long periods of time. So I think him sending new judges was him giving us that another push. It's like if your kid messes up, it's like, okay, first you could you give them, you take things away from them, but then, okay, here, this is what you need to learn from this. So then you let them know, okay, don't do that. But then they constantly finding new ways to mess up. But I think by setting judges, you're constantly finding ways to help them by having someone who from you can help them.
Right.
Also, I will say that with the judge is that the judge help us to keep the law, statutes, and the commandments to bring us back to the God of Israel, to bring us back in right standing also.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the keynote there is, and I think something that we can take even for us living in this society right now, is that many times the issues that we will have in our life or our societies, we don't understand the connection between that and the fact that it originates from turning away from our laws, statutes, commandments, from our culture, and from our God, right? And so I think that's to me, that's the overarching thing, and that's sometimes the hardest message to tell people today. The issues that we face as quote unquote the black community are directly related, the cause of the outcome of, because of turning away from our God and our Father. And so seeing that message here in Judges in my journey really helped solidify the understanding about who I am and how this really applies to me. Because who else needs to hear that message today? What other people on this planet needs to understand this message today that you get from the book of Judges? So so that's overarching. And so let's keep going, because I want to jump into the two topics we're going to have today. And so we've talked these, some of the judges we spoke to already over these past lessons, and hopefully they bring back some memories. Also, you can always go back and listen to some of those videos to get some deep dives. But there were some really great stories, some really great lessons for us, I think, that can really help us in our journey in this modern times to understand who we are and some of the things we've done in the past, that hopefully we don't repeat them as well.
Right.
So let's jump into who we're talking about today. Yes, probably the most famous judge, I think. Probably the most famous judge. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Until we did all of this, Elder Jeffrey, he was the most famous. I think maybe Gideon might have him beat now.
Yes. Well, I think most of us probably, again, some of us who were brought up in this society through Christianity, there are some stories, they call them children's stories. And this was one as a child growing up in Christianity that I learned about, that most probably learned about. I mean, even now, this is like this is one of the ICME posters. It just, I guess the story appeals, to a children's mind. But it's a very powerful story. And it's very important for us to see it through our eyes, the reality, the truth of who as Israelites, right? And the fact that, Israelite 101 is Samson was an Israelite. He was an Israelite, and his power came from the God of Israel, and his powers came from the God of Israel for his people. So we're going to jump into it and hopefully be able to kind of look into us again through the eyes of an Israelite, and be able to see what we can glean from that. All right, so let's get started. Who wants to read that first?
I go first.
Okay. Go ahead,
Okay. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistine 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistine. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying,
We can pause there for right now, Veronica. Let's pause there for a second. Let's digest what we just read. So we start out with unfortunately, that common phrase, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines. Again, enslaved to the Philistines. The Philistines ruled over us during that time period. And so what's unique about this judge that we've seen right here through these few verses? What's unique about it?
Him being prepared, right? Here's an angel of the Lord approaching her and giving her everything she should, telling her, one, she's going to have a son, two, telling her everything that should not be done. So it's basically he's being prepared, or she's being prepared, so that he will be a strong judge from his birth.
Yeah.
And also, I would say that before Samson's birth, as Chevy was saying, before Samson's birth, he was predestined for a specific purpose.
Mhm.
That purpose was so clear that even his mother was given strict instructions by the angel of the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, that told Samson's mother could not drink wine, unclean food, and the unclean food you can see in Leviticus, and how to raise Samson. So she was given specific instruction. Then when I look at it as a Nazarite, she said that he should be a Nazarite. A Nazarite is consecrated to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, by a vow to avoid drinking wine, cutting the hair, grapes, being defiled by the presence of a corpse, grave, tombs. And then when I looked up the word Samson, it says that Samson was son, if not a son, child, if not a strong masculine man, a strong masculine name for a boy. So when I looked at that, his name fit him because God of Israel called him Samson, a strong masculine name. So that's what stood out to me.
Ezra?
Actually, one of the comments by Xavier Brown saying how it's interesting to note that some of the greatest judges and priests came from a womb that was barren. And I thought that that was very interesting note right there, because I also noted that as well, how the God of Israel works, how he works through quote unquote miracle in a way where, he always makes sure that that this is of him and from him. And sometimes by taking away, he plans on giving us something we can't even, greater than we ever could see or imagine ourselves. So that was like, I think one of the first things I noticed was the fact that she was barren. But then when she does have the child, it's going to be a child for the God of Israel. So, everything has a purpose. But, I bet she lived most of her life not aware of that purpose. But, when it's time, she's ready for it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Xavier, as well as Ezra, that that she was barren, and it's so put it into full context. You think about we're in a terrible state as a people, right? It's unarguable. You cannot argue that we are in a bad state, the bottom of society. These people are ruling over us, right? They tell us and make the rules whatever they want, whatever you want to call it, discrimination, oppression, slavery, all those various things, right? It's a terrible place for us. And although we're in our land, right? We're in our land and we know who we are. Other than those two things, exactly the state that we may find ourselves in now, right? The fact that we're at the bottom rung of society and everything, whether you talk about measure healthcare, education, crime, whether you measure, progression, or just the whole idea again of health or whatever, however you want to measure it, on every level, we're being oppressed, and we know that we need help. We need help, and the idea again is that the God of Israel chooses someone that we probably would not
expect. Yeah. I guess you will say expect.
Yeah. I think someone that we do not expect. I don't know if his audio cut.
Right. I think so.
And also to piggyback off of what Ezra was saying was that if you look at Samson and Jesus, the Christ, both of them was called from birth. They was predestined, before. And it's like how God of Israel predestined Samson to deliver the children of Israel from out of the hand of the Philistine. So like I said, that was great.
And you look at the predestined, and then you also look at the preparation, as you noted before, how there's how him needing to be raised a certain way in order for him to fulfill the role that he needs to for Israel. And just like as Elder Jeffrey was saying, the state of the land is in such turmoil that sometimes, it's hard for people to even hear hope sometimes, when you think about being at the bottom, and we can look at our situation as Black people today. But when you think about being at the bottom, or the land and you not being in sync and you not being in your spiritual wholeness, sometimes when you think about hope, it's hard to imagine it, to grab onto it, because all maybe you've known, or at least what you've known for a long time, has been that turmoil. So, to get the message that, and so to get the message, so as that woman, to get the message, because your whole life you've been barren, but to get the message that not only will you not be barren, but the child that you're going to have is going to be a child that is going to, save you all from this turmoil, from this bad spiritual and physical place, right? Because the Philistines are ruling over us physically as well. So from that physical spot, and probably a lot of the spiritual problems as well. So that, I think, is just, it makes it extra special.
Yeah, I think
So,
so
which makes
too.
sense. Mm-hmm.
I think also too, what else make it special is just listening, even what Veronica said about Ish and the things from Leviticus. It shows too our culture, right, of what we still have to and still need to go through while we're in the land with somebody else, some total different nation presiding over us. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to do the things that we need to do, and that kind of reflects back to us even now, where we have to go against what those other nations are doing, and we do what we supposed to do. So I
Right.
like to see that too happen, and that's what the angel of the Lord came and told her. Like, this is what
Right.
we need to do. It's almost
Right.
like a mission, and she obeyed. If as we gonna read and see.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you look at it as Ezra and Chevy was saying, as today time, Elder Shamrock is our predestined. You know what I'm saying? Because if he would have never revealed to us the truth, we would still be in lost. So, like I said, I
Exactly.
thank the God of Israel for Elder Shamrock teaching us this, because he
Exactly.
sent Elder Shamrock to us to teach us this truth. So I can
Yep.
see that.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, so let's keep
Yep.
going because we got a lot of slides to go through. All right, so he's chosen, and I'll, as I think, you go to the next chapter. Right. All right. And so the end, chapter 13 ends with, them following the instructions and raising him the way that he's instructed to be raised, so that he can be prepared to do, what he needs to do. So as he grows up, these are some of the things in chapter 14, 15 that he does. And the way we read it in those first few verses was interesting. Again, just look at some of the differences that he would start to free us from the Philistines,
Hmm.
right? So it's like a lot of times the judge would be picked that have one big war and then it would be over. But this one was more of a gradual chipping away of the oppression, more than just an outright like it's just over, it's done. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think every circumstance is different. Even the judges we saw before, every circumstance is different. And so the way the God of Israel handles it, the way he chooses someone, and even the way things unfold, a lot of times are different, and so you just got to have faith and sort of flow and trust in the God of Israel and what he's doing. But so this is Samson starting his process, and someone can read this, please.
I'll go ahead. Um, Judges 14, 1 and 4. And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now, therefore, get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think Elder Jeffrey, if we had read like right the verse in what's that 13, right before we started this 14th verse, and I just want to read it, and it says, and the spirit of the Lord began to move him at times in the camp of Dan between Zoar and Eshtal. And and I think this goes to show that, like Priest Doreen said it in a previous lesson about how the God of Israel liked to stir up things. And so he was kind of already stirring it. He'd already stirred it up, and now he was just going ahead and putting it into play. It's kind of like writing up a play in the sport and then seeing the players go out to handle the
Execute. Yeah.
you know.
Yes. Yeah. Looking looking
Mhm.
looking for an occasion in order to have a win, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
strategize in order to have a win. So
Right.
absolutely, yes, yes. Thank you, George, for your donation. Thank you very much. That definitely
Thank you.
helps us move forward. Also, thank you, Luncey,
Thank
so that we can continue to provide this information. Um, so yeah, I think so. I think it's absolutely that you're going to see that come up quite a bit, where the spirit will come to him, and then the spirit leave him, come to him. It's not like it's with him 24/7, but the point is, he as a vessel has to be prepared to be able to receive that, right, at any time, right,
you.
as
Mhm.
needed or at any time. And so you see that special preparation for him in order for him to receive that spirit of the
Right.
Lord. And also the idea that you know he is doing something, like I was saying, every situation is different. So he's doing some things that his parents, and probably even those that are not his parents, are like, why is he doing that? He's the judge of
Right.
Israel. Why is he going after a woman outside of Israel? That don't make sense to
Mhm.
me. Why are you doing that? But not
It's
understanding
very
that,
funny because I think that's a conversation that almost is had often. I think in Israelite households, I think as well as Black households, with the whole idea of like marrying within and keeping that family culture. And so him going after this girl that is of another culture, and not just another culture, but the culture that's kind of over
oppressing.
you, like oppressing
Yeah,
you. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like, well, that seems off. That seems like maybe
yeah,
not something to do, and not just given in on a general basis, but also given the basis of who he's supposed to be,
right,
because they're well aware of who he's supposed to be, right?
yeah,
But the God of Israel always has a plan, and so
yeah.
sometimes things happen the way they happen, and you can't see the whole thing.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
and it's tough, and so it's tough to judge, because you can imagine. I mean, I think a valid judge would be. I'm talking about number one, he's a judge, so I guess you shouldn't judge the judge, right? But I can understand in people's minds, like, wait a minute, isn't that what got us here in the first place? Say going after these other women, but understanding that it was, as I think Xavier admits, it was a strategy that's being had, and sometimes again, it's hard for us to judge the judge because you don't understand. The judge has more information than we do about the situation, and he have a strategy in place that he's putting out there. So we got to be careful when we try to judge a judge, right? Because we don't know exactly all the strategies that are being taken place. So again, um, Xavier says, amidst this was going against the grain of our culture. Verse 4 states, this thing was of the Lord, right? A military strategy to gain access to the Philistines. Again, the wisdom of the God of Israel. So, absolutely. So, to summarize the story, and I'll try to summarize that. So, he goes, of course, his parents protest a bit. He goes down to, have the marriage feast. And at that point, there are like 30 Philistines that are there, part of that whole thing. It's a 7-day feast. And so at the feast, he puts together a riddle to those Philistines. Again, he wants the opportunity to show them up, right? To show them up. On his way there, he has one of those examples showing his strength, and he gets attacked by a lion, and he kills the lion with his bare hands. So um,
Jeez.
understand, I mean, how much does a lion weigh?
800
Yeah.
pounds.
Right, yeah. So it's not like a big dog. This is huge, right? He kills it with his bare hands. And so I also wanted to note something too that said, I think you mentioned, Veronica, about Samson and the concept of him being masculine and strong and all these various things. And our visualization of that, of Samson, of being like maybe like a huge bodybuilder or something like that, right? Probably our visualization of that, a man's man type of thing. Um, But one of the things that that should be one of the things that Elder Shadrach has taught, it wasn't like that. The visualization should not be the masculine man. The visualization should be a regular weakling, a regular guy, average Joe type of looking guy. Why? See Veronica shaking her head. Why? Because we understand it's not his muscles that are doing it.
Right.
The powers come from his muscles, right? The powers come from the God of Israel. And the same way the God of Israel will take a leader from a barren woman is the same way for him to really show his power. The same way he will take an average Joe and put that power of strength in him. So it can be very clear it's not his muscles that are doing it. It's the God of Israel that's doing it.
I agree with that 100% because that's what I was thinking about that. Samson's strength, Samson's physical strength and Samson's spiritual strength was given to the God of Israel, came from the God of Israel and the God of Israel only. Samson, as you said, Elder Jeffrey, was a physical man. He was just a natural man. But when the spirit of God of Israel, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob came upon him, he was unstoppable. You could not touch him.
That's it, 100%. That's it. DeShante says the God of Israel moves who he chooses. He's the creator of all things, so you'll never know who could be of service to the nation. So don't be too quick to judge. Observation is key. Amen. And obedience.
I think that's I think that's very, very interesting to look at that, because I think, I think that's very real to look at it that way, because I think we sometimes need to understand that our strength is not of ourselves.
Amen.
And the things that we love to do and the talents we have and the things that are important to us and the things that we are good at and all these things that we can do is not of us. And so it's like to imagine a bodybuilder is like imagining someone who believes that through his own will he can do this thing. But to imagine just a man just like you or me killing a lion with his bare hands, I think you can only imagine that has to be something greater than just what man can do,
Right.
And I think the God of Israel is constantly working in that way. The same way as you said with the barren woman, it's the same thing. It's the whole idea of working in a way that shows that this could not be of anything else but the Lord.
Right.
So I thought that was very special way to look at it. It also reminded me of even David and Goliath, the whole visual in your head.
Exactly.
I think that visual is actually important. And that's why when the God of Israel, he says that he always works with the small, with the less than, and not with the majority. He always working with the small. Even when I wasn't here, you guys did Judges before, you guys talking about Gideon. It's the same thing, Gideon in 300.
That's
the same idea of the less taking over this massive giant thing that if you look at the numbers, impossible. Like the numbers is telling you this has not happened. Same thing with Jesus and the fish. It's like the numbers say this is not possible. The stats don't read right. It's like the underdog of the underdog, but yet somehow the Spirit of the Lord allows them to be victorious in these situations. So
100%. 100%. Yep. Sevens. Put some sevens in there for that. If there's only one message to get from today, I think that's it, right? Understand that. What you said, this makes so much sense and it's so true. And you said it does. When you look at the math, it doesn't make sense. But I think it depends on what coordinate system are you looking at. If you're looking on the physical, it don't make sense. But just like Elijah said to his servant, open up his eyes so he can kind of see there's more with us than with them, right? There's more. It's more of the spirit. That's why we focus on the spirit, strengthening our spirit, because that's the most powerful part. This flesh will come and go. But we are part of and connected to the greatest spirit that there is. So if we're true and obedient to that spirit and to how that spirit wants to be treated and taken care of, then we're, like Veronica said, we're unstoppable. unstoppable. So I think
But you
that's
know what? If you think about it, also, that's why I guess the God of Abraham, God, also God Jacob said that we must serve him in spirit and in truth. Because
Mm-hmm.
something you just said, Jeff, you said the spirit. So we must serve the God of Israel in spirit and truth. Because just think if Samson tried to go inside his own physical strength, he would have failed.
yes,
But
Yeah.
yes,
he leaned upon the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob's strength.
yes,
He was unstoppable. I mean, could nobody stop him? Because
yes,
why? It is the God of Israel doing.
right,
And I think even to add to that, you talk about the idea of confidence or being confident, and you look at Samson as someone who would be very confident to even take that on, right? And you look at David as well with Goliath, and not just David with Goliath, but David in his whole life, the confidence, right?
yeah,
But the root of the confidence is not in their own ability, but the root of the confidence is that my God is with me, and I
yeah,
think that's something we all can like take on and
yeah,
live with
yeah,
Right.
as this strength that has none to do with what you look like, how good you like, none to do with none of that, but this strength that is spiritual within, that only the God of Israel can give you. So when you talk about being confident, it's like you know being confident in what, not in yourself, but being confident that I am the man that my God wants me to be in the situation, to do what I need to do for whatever I need to do it for, why ever I need to do it, and I think that gives you that type of space to feel free and comfortable, and I think that's what made them, so strong.
Yeah, this is just amazing when we sit here and we debunk everything. We go through everything and we talk about it because we make these discoveries, and this is the discovery that helps us be Israel and understand our God's power. I just love when we go through it like this because even with Elder Jefferson, he was just a regular man. Like think of the power, like everything that he does, that power is shown, and we start to realize and understand how we glorify him, right? Or he puts us in places to glorify him, just being the smallest in every situation to
Yeah,
bloom like that and take over things. I love it. That's why I love Israel. It's just we look at the things we uncover and we learn as we walk through the scriptures. So I
yeah.
go ahead, y'all.
And I
But
think
you
there's a
know,
reason. And thank you, Kingsley, for your donation. And I think there's a reason, that all these stories that we have access to it. There's a reason why the God of Israel is giving us these books that we call the Bible. There's a reason why it's written down for us, because it's like you need to see those consistencies. Like you see all these stories and you see the consistencies, and then you can look at your own life and then be able to apply it. Like don't judge yourself, too hard based off of what you see right now, what you can feel and touch and see right now, because there's a whole nother battle happening that you cannot see, that gives you strength, that gives you strength and allows you to be stronger than you believe you ever could be.
Yeah, it's like that confidence is being transferred from the Bible to us too, right?
yes.
It's just being
Yeah,
transferred. Yeah,
yeah,
we all
because
been
those are our family.
exactly.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
And walking in obedient, I know based on verse 4 that his mother did not understand,
Mhm.
but she obeyed. You know what I'm saying? So she did, like I said, it don't make sense to go get a woman or wife from the Philistine because she did not understand. But
you're right.
it's like she walked in obedience. She was obedient, even though she did not understand, even though she did not see this don't make any sense. We got Israelite women. Why not take one of them? But she didn't understand that the God of Israel set it up to
Mhm.
bring down our enemies. So a
Mhm.
lot of times when God of Israel doing something, it's not going to make sense to us. But
Exactly.
Mhm.
it's a point of walking in obedience and
Mm,
listening and just stepping out there in faith. So
exactly.
that's
Yes.
also what I got from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what's next, the next scripture that we have, so we can, because we'll find out later, of course, why it was stirred up, and I like that. I like that part as well, which was
So I
what
guess
is
we can.
the next slide.
Yes.
Oh, you want?
Uh,
Uh,
I guess I can. I can go ahead and read. Judges 15, verse 9 through 15. You there?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry,
Okay.
guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, so let me. So we had. Did you have anything about the last chapter you wanted to mention?
Did we finish the story about him? I think so. I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an example, just through his life. Again, he's chipping away. He's showing his power. I think we talked about him killing the lion, right? And then he went to the event at his wedding, and with the Philistine woman, he gave a riddle to the 30 Philistine men, and they did you guys go over this already? They actually pressured his wife to give them the answer to the riddle.
We're about to go there right now, Elder Jeffrey. We were just about to read it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So
Well, I think that was after. No, this one is the next one. So this is after. So
okay.
And this is like the wife, the Philistine wife, pressures Samson to tell the riddle. And again, she's like, "Oh, if you love me, why don't you tell me?" He's like, "I didn't tell my mother and father. Why am I tell you?" He's like, "No, you don't love me. You don't love me." And so she pressures him to do that. So he tells her. And the thing is that they had pressured her. They said, "Hey, you go find out the answer to this riddle. Otherwise, we're going to kill you and your family." And so she's pressured to do it whether she wanted to or not. And so so he gives it to her. And then at the end of the feast, which is like 7 days, which is another thing, right? They feast for 7 days. They give him they answer the riddle and give him the answer to the riddle. And so he knew right then the only way they could know the answer is because she had she snitched. So he gets upset and goes out. And a part of the reward, if they were not able to answer, they would have to give him some raiment and some money and stuff like that. And then if they couldn't give the answer, then he would have to do it to them. So he went out and actually stole it from the Philistines to give it back to the Philistines. So it was just an interesting story. But it's just one of those things you think like, oh, there's a lesson right here about you can't be pressured. Even if it's an emotional to compromise yourself. And so he did, and this ended up being a part of his folly, but we're going to see it come up again. Right. So now we're going to go into this next chapter. We'll see another again. He's chipping away at the Philistines. So here's another one. You can go ahead and read that one now.
Okay, just to go off of the story you just finished, though, like it's just very interesting as far as how emotions often are what trip us up, and that's our own emotions. Yeah. And sometimes we lose. Sometimes we lose our obedience and our focus. When we are not, almost like when you're not in gear. It's like that's when you need to be the most prepared. It's easy to fight when there's about to be a fight, and you have all this armor on, you're right about to fight. That's when you're prepared to fight. But all those moments when you're comfortable is usually when things can slip. So
for sure.
We see that with him, and but she's supposed to be his girl, but it's like
right.
You can't trust everybody, especially the fact that she's not of Israel. So it just makes that even more difficult to handle.
100%.
I can only imagine what type of like emotional playing was being done in that way, because we know how people are in relationships. So we can only imagine like how, if that's his girl, like how she would know how to get this information out of him,
right.
And so it's like, she got me, she got him.
Yeah.
And then she said, all right, thank you for that, and then now all her people are gonna get blessed from that. So yeah. And
sure, right. Visualization, right? At the feast, again, he's there for a purpose. He knows it, right? He's there to really show up these people. As far as enemy, he's the one to look out for are these 30 Philistine men. You know what I'm saying? That's probably on the front of his mind. He's not even thinking that it's going to come from there, right? It's like the words of a boxer, right? They say the hardest punch is the one you don't see coming, you know? And so that definitely, he didn't see that one coming. But you would think he would learn from that, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, let's read the next one.
Yep. Okay. Judges 15. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah, why are you come up against us? And they answered, to bind Samson are we come up, to do him as he had done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam and said to Samson, knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hands, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And he was sore athirst, and called on the Lord, and said, thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant, and now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised?
Oh, is that the end? I'm sorry. Is that the end of the verse? Yeah. Oh, okay. I can't see from here.
Is there
so
page?
Huh?
Is there another page?
No. We can summarize the rest of it. So again, going into this, little by little, Samson is taking swipes at the Philistines. Taking the clothes from the individuals. There's a part where he actually ties foxes together and puts fire on their tails and have them go through the Philistines' fields to burn up their fields. He's doing a lot of different things, that to really, irritate them. So they come up against Judah, against Israel, and to the elders, and to try to really put pressure on them. And they're like, hey, I mean, Samson, we love what you're doing, but you're making it harder for us. What do we do? And so so we see what he says. Yeah, okay, well, good. Just make sure you guys don't get involved, don't get your hands dirty. Go ahead and tie me up, give me to them, and then I'll take care of the rest. So he killed 1,000 people.
Yeah,
and not just people, 1,000 soldiers, right? 1,000 men of war of the Philistines, right? I mean, that's a big number, of showing his power.
We still have to remember he a little guy.
I can only imagine, you ever see like those kung fu movies in a way? Not even kung fu. It could be kung fu, could be war. Even or what's the movie, like the John Wick or whatever? But it's like, people have their own things that they do. But just the whole idea of being able to visually see what does it look like to kill 1,000 men, one man. What does that look like? I think it would look like something out of a movie,
Yeah, for sure.
As far as to the extent of like really imagine one man standing on one side and 1,000 men standing on the other side, and imagine all the 1,000 men charge at this one man simultaneously,
right?
And the type of agility, and we can judge it on that scale, agility, strength, but like the fact that we know that the Spirit is guiding it, it's like I can only imagine how smooth the motion is,
right?
I can only imagine that, like
you want Samson's martial arts, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Because think about it's not just 1,000 men, 1,000 men with spears, with swords, with all types of things, right? Just all types of weapons that they're gonna have, right? And he just had a bone in his hand and just killed them all.
Yeah,
the Matrix.
I was
going to say Matrix.
With Samson, these men were skilled. So we see it, Jeff. These men were skilled. They were warriors. They knew how to fight. Samson was not like that. Samson only had the Almighty, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, and that's all Samson needed. Because when the spirit came upon him, he took a jawbone. Just think, these men are skilled, trained. They went through boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Samson had God of Israel and slew all them men with just a jawbone.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
That
yeah.
says a lot about the God that
That's
we
the power of
serve.
our God. The power
That
of our
says
God. If we
the
just would trust in Him.
God that we
That's
serve,
right.
Almighty.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So imagine how empowered Israel felt. Right? They're like, wow, we're on our way. We're on our way. So again, it was little by little. It wasn't like, again, prior judges, we usually saw one big war and it does it. This was little by little, little by little by little. So you see it sort of build and build. If you go through the story in detail, build and build and building. So let's keep going because let's get to the next chapter. Next slide. All right. So somebody can start it.
I do it. Then went Samson to Gaza and saw there an harlot and went into her. And it was told to the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of the hill that is before Hebron.
He's just touring with them. You see that, right? He's just touring with them,
Right.
right? He's like humiliating them, a little bit at a time, humiliating them, right?
You just imagine how mad they were, right? Like,
Yeah.
look what you keep doing. You don't get up earlier than we were going to get them and take our doors. Like, man, come on. You upset?
Yeah. They waiting outside of the city, and he said, "I'm gonna just bring the city."
That's right. That's right. See, God of Israel has a sense of humor, right?
Yeah,
For real, for real. But then we see, a part of that, like we said, a part of his, unfortunately, the path to his downfall, right? A part of it is looking for opportunity um, to humiliate the Philistines, but at the same time, getting caught up with the infatuation with the Philistine women.
Mhm.
And so we'll see that sort of build up a little bit there too. But let's go to the next one, just so we see. Just kind of laying out the stage again, where we have this. There's a lot of stages to this, right? He judged for 20 years, so there's a lot of these encounters that he has with the Philistines. So these are just a few of the highlights. But then we're going to get to, unfortunately, this last part. So we can go to the next one.
Okay, I will read the next one. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Short, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistine came up unto her and said unto her, entreat him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him. And we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and where would thou mightest be bound to afflict thee? So when I looked at this, I looked at the word Delilah. It means delicate. And then when I looked up the Delilah is something how they knew Samson's weakness. So they went to her, the harlot. A harlot is someone that gives money for intimacy. So I'm not going to say too much, because like I said, there are kids watching this show. So for intimacy. So and it's like how they, and like I say, that is her business. That is her trade. So like I say, she tricked him or seduced him to get his strength, but he toyed with her too. He didn't give it right up his strength. So like I said, that stood out to me. How they used women to attack him, Samson.
Mm-hmm.
It still
Consistent.
happens to this day, don't it? It's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing we see all the time. There's a lot of us weak in that area when it comes to women, and then it's other stories that we saw that was the same way too, like showing weakness of the woman, King Solomon, right?
Yep.
Showing all that same weakness that when a woman approaches, and they go all the way back to Adam. You know, we kind of just we fall out of, you know, whatever we were supposed to do. It's not concrete anymore. We got a focus, and then we lose focus once the woman talk to us, right? So it's the same.
Yeah.
If you look at it, that Joseph fled. Joseph did not succumb to Potiphar's wife.
Oh yeah.
So like I say, it depends on, I guess, where your mindset or where your spirit is at that time. If your weakness is women's, that's what the enemy is going to use to defeat you. Whatever your weakness is, that's what the enemy target at.
And you know, it's very interesting because it's also interesting to look at the whole idea that, you know, because it's not just Delilah, but we heard the story before. It was right after he was with the harlot, and then the story before. So it's like they're constantly coming at him with women, and you know that's like a tactic. You know, even nowadays, you know, even in business and business meetings, you know, you guys, even like to get someone to sign a contract or to get somebody to be on your side, like that is a weak spot for men. A beautiful woman or a woman that entices you.
True.
Being that weak spot in men, even very strong men, and we see that here. And so it's another thing I'm also looking at is, the first time that Samson was with this, Philistine woman, it had purpose to it. But I'm wondering, as time is going by, whether because the first Philistine woman was like, okay, the God of Israel made this Philistine woman, that way I can do what I need to do in their camp. But I'm
to maneuver.
To maneuver. But I'm thinking as time's going on, at what point is him dealing with the Philistine woman stop being for any purpose and just being what he does,
Well, we read, obviously this one, it says specifically he loved her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a business transaction. Start catching feelings, right? And like I think Shelby was saying, emotions end up, it's that takes a lot of strength to go to not go follow your emotions. And so, like you said, it's one the term I hear. Hey, you dance to the devil don't change, right? It's over time. And I think, like Veronica said, they your enemies are watching you, and they're looking for the kinks in the armor, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, we can't beat them one-on-one. We can't beat them with an army. We can't beat him with 1,000 men. We can't beat him, right? I mean, we can't. Everything we've tried. Again, he was a judge. I know the stories you go through is like a handful of stories. He's a judge for 20 years, right? So he's been doing this for them for a long time, and so they've been trying to figure out a way of how they can overcome him, because they know as long as he's alive that they're doomed. And so they found the kink. They found, hey, he likes our women, so let's feed it to him. And let's look up an opportunity to do that. So we got to jump to the next story. So I just want to get to the end of it. And we kind of know the story of Delilah. She pressured. And the thing, too, to distinguish, the first woman that he married, she was threatened. The Delilah was...
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Right in the...
It was good. He was
skilled. She was very skilled. She was a profession. She was good at her trade. And it's like, that's what they used. they use what they knew Samson liked. So it's like you know how somebody entrapped you or they snared, they set that bait and he went after that bait. And
and they also gave, because I think the Philistines themselves offered all the
11,
silver. Yeah, and like it wasn't. I don't think it was total. I think that was per person that was going to be a part of slaying
everyone. Yeah, that's it. Every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver. So, like I say, each one of them gave 100 pieces of silver.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I think too, like it goes like when we bring it home today, we see how women sometimes are put in place to sell you products. You know why there has to be a woman in a music video or drink videos just for you to buy a drink or whatever.
For sure. For sure.
So it's always in it. So we know that that's our weakness, and I'm sure they discovered that years ago. And that's crazy. They still use it today.
Yeah.
Because human nature doesn't change.
That's right. So it's something, again, the whole point for us doing that is not just gawking at what our forefathers did, but also looking and seeing the same themes. How can we avoid the pitfalls, right? How do we learn from that? And that's the thing that I had mentioned earlier. You'd think, man, why didn't Samson learn from the first time not to trust this woman? Now you got another Philistine woman, and you're still giving up, even more information you're supposed to do. But listen, we got to stop.
Yeah.
We got to end the Samson. We got to jump into the Benjamites because we're finishing it tonight. Okay, so we know how the Samson story ends. We know, unfortunately, I hate reading those words. After Delilah gives up the secret, from pressuring him, they take him, they gouge out his eyes, they cut his hair, and it's just the power leaves him. But then, while he's, there, they're making fun of him, hair starts to grow back. He prays to the God of Israel, and he ends up destroying more Philistines in his death than he did all throughout his life. So, he definitely is a major contribution. He had some flaws, like we all do, unfortunately, but he was an Israelite, true, someone that we can be celebrated and learn from. As one of the most famous judges that we've ever had. So yeah. All right. So we'll jump on. Let's jump to the next thing. We'll jump into Benjamites. Again, this is the last chapters of the Book of Judges. Go into the next slide. Next slide. All right. Someone can read that.
All right. And it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. And her husband arose and went after her to speak friendly unto her and to bring her again, having his servant with him and a couple of asses. And she brought him into her father's house. And when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with them 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodge there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your way. And they sat down and did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man, be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry.
All right. So a much different story than we're used to. This is called the Book of Judges. It's in the Book of Judges. It's the last couple of chapters in the book. But it's not really talking about a judge. The phrase, there's 2 phrases that gets repeated over and over again in the Book of Judges. One is we've read, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the God of Israel was angry at them and put them into enslavement to this nation, that nation, or whatever nation. Another phrase that gets repeated toward these last chapters are, there was no king in the land at this time, and so everybody did whatever was they thought was in their heart. Right? You see
Right.
that repeated a few times throughout there. So these chapters are here to kind of give us a sense of the breakdown of our society as Israel.
Mhm.
Right, it's going to we're showing the breakdown. We're going to see that as we go through this. When we talk about following the God of Israel, or turning our back on the God of Israel, not applying the Lord's commandments to our society, to our lives. It's not just the fact of how we worship the God of Israel; it's also how we live together with one another.
Right.
Right? It's our standard of living. It's our culture. It's the things that we strive for. It's the way that we think. It's the way that we work with one another. It's like all those things are embedded. Those are the fruits of creating a just society based upon the laws, the statute commandments of our God. And so this is sort of what the outcome is of it. We're going to see some of that right there. So we're starting out with this individual who has a concubine. And even right there, we can talk about the different levels of roles that women can play, whether they're a virgin, whether they're a maiden, whether they're a widow, whether they're a wife, concubine, harlot, all those various things, the different roles. In this case, this individual has a concubine, which is a lesser status than a wife in a relationship, and she had an affair.
Yeah.
And so they, right there, there's a breakdown in the culture right there. And so she goes back to her father's house, and he goes, but I guess he loves her, so he wants to go back and get her, and so he goes back. So we'll see that story there. But anything else from this intro that we're
Yes.
getting into the story? Yep.
What I saw was that the children of Israel today playing the harlot or playing the concubine, turning our back on the God of Israel, serving other gods. So I saw that, relating to this story. God of Israel loved us so much. The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob loved us so much. He sent messengers. He sent judges. He sent prophets. He sent leaders after us, his children, to bring us back to him. So no, that's what I got from this theory. God of Israel loved us so much. He won't let
Yeah.
us go.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though we played a harlot.
I kind of
Okay. Let's keep.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead. I was
No, I
kind
was
of
going to say go to the next slide, but go ahead.
oh no. I kind of looked at how the father-in-law really liked him and
Yeah.
wanted him to stay. He kind of just kept asking him over, no, just stay. So
Yeah.
he wasn't happy either with the choice that maybe the concubine made, but he just wanted him to stay.
Right.
And that shows something too as well. Just how much
Yeah.
he here, like stay here with me.
Yeah.
We'll be married.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, definitely. He definitely approved of that. So, yeah. So he kept them there for, I think he was only staying for a few days. But again, everybody, please, as you're following us, we want to we're hitting the high notes because we're limited by time. But definitely read the story in its entirety. There's a lot of meat there. But I like the way that it flows and stuff. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Anybody can read it.
And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel father, said unto him, Behold, now the day draweth towards evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here, that thine heart may be merry, and tomorrow get up early on your way, that thou mayest go home. But the man would not tarry that night, but he rose up and departed and came over against Jebus, which is Jerusalem. And there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him. And when they were by Jebus, the day was forspent, and the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray thee, and let us turn into this city of the Jebusites and lodge in it. And his master said unto him, We would not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger, that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah. And he said unto his servant, come and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them where they were by Gibeah, and which belonged to Benjamin.
All right.
And they turned aside hither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat down in a street of the city, for there was no man that took them into the house to a lodging.
So he's traveling at night. It's a long journey. Again, as we know, going from the book of Judges, where we did not totally remove everybody from us for various reasons. So this city of the Jebusites, Jebus, which ends up becoming Jerusalem later on under David. But right now it's the Jebusites that live there, non-Israelites that are living there. And you know how you're traveling, you're like, oh, I should probably stop here. But you know, it's like, nah, I'm not staying with strangers. They're going to stay with Israelites. They're going to stay with brethren, right? I mean, that's the common, right? Yeah, I'll stay with brethren just because I don't have to worry about what they're feeding me. I'm going to feel safe. We have the same culture. We have, everything should be good, right? So I'm not going to stay with strangers, right? So I think that's right. So they end up getting to the Israelite city, part of Benjamin, and it's nighttime, and they get there. And the thing that sticks out to me, no one would take them in.
Yes.
Right. No.
Wait, but I'm with brethren, and no one would take me in.
And that's the problem. That's the whole problem. I think that's the whole reason we're reading this is to show how that's not part of the culture. Nobody would take me in. So you just leave me out here. And
yeah,
that's horrible.
Right.
It's not what God of Israel wanted for us, right? It's not what
right.
he put us together to be a family, to be one. And that was not taking place.
Yes. Yeah. So you see a breakdown of what it's supposed to be. So let's keep going. Anybody?
Judges 19, verse 22. Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold.
I'm sorry, real quick. I'm sorry. Real quick. I skipped. So they had no place to stay. So they're just sitting in the square of the park, like the middle of the city, just like them and just hanging out. And an old man in the city is like, "Wait, what are you guys doing here?" And he told them the story. He said, "Yeah, I just went to get my concubine. I'm traveling from this place. I'm going to go back, and it's nighttime, so I was trying to find some place where nobody's going to take us." And the old man said, "Okay, come stay with me. You can stay with me, but just please don't stay out here at night. It's not safe at night. So come stay with me." So now as they're inside and he's having them relax and feed them and stuff like that, now you can get and read what happens next.
Now, as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them, Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so vile a thing. But the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine, and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her, and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house where her lord was, till it was light. And her lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold.
One of the I think one of the saddest stories.
Wow.
Because this is we've seen this before, right, with Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And now that's a foreign people, right? They're not Israel's not even there yet, right? This is but now after everything we've been through, this is what our society has come to.
Mm-hmm.
This is what a society has come to, and this is why we need so much the law, statutes, commandments, and regardless. Let's for a second put aside the oppression. Put that aside, right? Just us living with each other. Just how hostile, how vile, how just terrible we can be amongst each other. If we don't have this basic code of conduct the God of Israel has given us through his laws, statutes, commandments. It's not just how we worship the God of Israel, it's also how we love and care for one another. And without the laws, statutes, commandments, this is the direction that our society goes in. And now you pick up your head out of the book and look around at society today in 2023. What society does this reflect? What society is more fearful of one another? What group than even outside people? You know what I mean? Like it's the vileness that's there, the just immorality that's there, the disregard for basic humanity is just, it's got to a point that no one can even justify it. You know what I mean? And it's just it's emotional when you think about everything we've been through, and this is what it's come to. And if we feel that way, imagine what our Father feels like looking down and seeing this.
Exactly.
Yes, no, and I see that also the importance of culture, even our history, us knowing it. Because once we know our culture and our history, we would do the things that are right concerning the laws, statutes, and the commandments. Because it's like even now, us as brethren, we should respect one another, highly respect one another. We should be there for one another, help each other back through thick and thin. Because we are brothers. We call ourselves Israel. We should not touch something that belongs to somebody else. It should be respected. Right. That's what I see.
Right. And I think even when we look at because when we look at this specific time, as far as dealing with people doing what they want to do, right? Because there's no quote unquote leadership per se. So everyone's kind of just doing what they feel they would do. Yes. It's kind of like this, very chaotic space. But everyone is Israel, but it's not like that, there's no unity. And I think we know that how the God of Israel works is we come to him in one spirit. He sees us as in one voice, in one spirit. So for us to be disunified, then there's no spirituality, because our spirituality, as Veronica said, is in our groupness. It is in, we are not Israel without Israel. I'm only Israel because you're Israel, so we're Israel.
Right.
Other than that, I'm just a man. But it's like you are not family without family, right? Like you are not a part of your family with your dad and your mom and your sister, your brother. That's what makes you a part of the family, is the other members of the family. So it's very interesting to see that happen in the time when there's no unity. And also we know about the laws and the purpose of the laws, right? The purpose of the laws is so that we know how to treat each other. The majority of the laws and the commandments and statutes, the top two things is not just knowing how to go to the God of Israel and pray and speak to the God of Israel, but just as important is how you treat your brother and your neighbors.
Yes.
Because
Amen.
that is who is here with you.
Sevens
Those
for
are the
that.
people around you that you need to love and appreciate right here, right now.
Right.
Those are the ones you actually can see. So to disrespect, not only your brother, but also another God. That is another child of God, and we're both children of God. So for us to be we have to be in sync,
Right.
So, it's just sad. That story was very sad.
For sure. So we got like 10 minutes left. So let's summarize it, then we can kind of continue to talk through it. I think we can go to the next slide. Do the next slide, and then we can go from there and summarize. Someone can read the next slide.
Let's do the next one.
1929 through. Okay, I read it.
There you go. That's it.
Okay. And when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. And it was so. And all that saw it said, there was no such deed done, nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came out of the land of Egypt unto this day. Consider of it. Take a device and speak your mind.
Yeah. So that was horrific. Just visualizing that, and him having to do that, sending a part of her body to each of the tribes, and then also you can imagine being in the tribe and receiving this package, saying, "What the heck? What the heck is this?" And don't forget, it's not Federal Express, right? It's not packed in ice. So by the time they get it, yeah. So it's it's filthy. So so they all. So let's summarize now. We can get that off the slide. We summarize it. So they all come. They're all. This leads all the heads of all. They're called to come together and let's wait a minute. We got to deal with this. This is we cannot have this in Israel. So they all come together. He tells the story of what happened to him when he was in Benjamin, and then they tell Benjamin, "Hey, give us the individuals that did this, and let's pronounce judgment on them. We can't allow this to happen." But Benjamin does not. They stand by them. They said, "No, who you? You can't judge us. Who are you to judge us?" And they actually go to war. So there's a civil war in Israel because of what these terrible people did. This is crazy. This is crazy. And so we have Benjamin against 11 tribes, and all the tribes come out. And again, everyone, please read through this so you guys can get the full story, because it's very, very interesting. And at the end, they go to war. They have a few battles, and it's just interesting because a couple of the battles, although Benjamin is the minority, is the lesser, they ended up victorious on those battles, and not till the final battle did Israel, the over 11 tribes, win. So we actually covered this in one of our other lessons where it talked about strategy, and one of the strategies that they had used was to draw them out of the city, and they ambushed them, and it was this whole thing. So you can go even see that lesson to see that strategy. I think it's called strategies. But so they end up winning, and they end up destroying Benjamin. They end up destroying Benjamin. Like, they end up burning down the cities. They end up killing the women, end up killing the animals, the men, everything, right? And this is civil war. This is not an extra outside people that are coming to do this. We're doing it ourselves. And it's like, we're trying to imagine, as vile as that was for those individuals that did that, just brother against brother. It's like, it's so hard for me to imagine, that type of, just killing tens of thousands of my brethren, but it was a vicious war. It was a vicious war, and it was internal. So, again, they're victorious. They end up almost annihilating Benjamin. And there's a part there where they weep, not just Benjamin, Israel. And this is the part that touching. They weep and they cry to the God of Israel. How could this happen in Israel? How could it be now that we stamped out a full tribe out of Israel? Because not only did they kill almost everybody, and they only left like a handful of men, a few hundred men, think about 600 or so men, but they also made a vow. All the 11 tribes made a vow: we will not give our daughters to wife any Benjamite man. And they gave a vow that they would do that. And so with that, they'd be like, well, that means the seed to be cut off. And we can't have that. We got to figure out something else. And so they go through all types of things trying to figure out how they can do that to make sure that tribe Benjamin does not get, cut out. And so one of the things that they do is like, well, you know what? Were there any tribes that did not come and to heed the call when we were called to come together? And there was one tribe. When I say tribe, it's like a sub-tribe, right? It's like, it's actually part of the tribe of Manasseh. It's a little sub-tribe, one of the families that are there. They didn't come. And so they send men to go to that city to kill the people in that city for not coming. Like, when we say come, we got to come. And they took the virgins from there and gave those virgins to the Benjamites.
Mm.
And they did a few other things. So I'm summarizing it, and again, you read it in its entirety, you kind of see how it flows. But even a part of that, when we see the judgments that they're making, you kind of wonder, oh, is that the way it should happen? Should it go? Should it whatever? It's like we read the scriptures again. We're reading it, not that everything our forefathers did was right. Right? We see that with Samson. Like we see it with all our forefathers, so on and so forth, but also to try to understand, like that's the environment they're in. Like I think the word you use, Ezra, chaotic, right?
Yes.
And there's if someone could read the last verse of the last chapter, that kind of sums up why we're reading all of this. It's not
In those
no.
days,
Take the slides off. It's not the slide. It's not the slide.
okay. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which was right in his own eyes.
Yeah. And that's the term that gets repeated over and over again. And that way of thinking, again, as we know at this time, no king in Israel. We know the God of Israel is our king at this point, right? And he's not there. He's not a part of the decision making process. He's not a part of the everyday. And so not only do you have a breakdown and dysfunction of society, we have these terrible things happening. Even this whole thing of them trying to figure out and going to war and trying to, what do we do with the women and taking women from here, putting them over there? It's just chaotic, and it causes issues down the line. We go later on. But it just shows you how problematic it is in Israel at this time. It's like the Wild Wild West almost.
Elder Jeffrey, I just wanted to mention something when we talk about chaotic, how chaotic it was, and the children of Benjamin were killing a lot of the children of Israel.
Yeah.
But one thing that made it that made a difference is all the children of Israel, when they were fighting against the children of Benjamin, all the children of Israel got together and they fast together.
Yeah.
And the God of Israel came and he said, well, now we will overthrow them. And to show once they came together as one, they were able to beat the Benjamites at that time. But it's brother and brother, so that's never good. But it was just, I wanted to point out that part because that was important.
For sure.
To use those tools that the God of Israel set before us to be able to make things happen the way we need them to happen. And I love that about Israel because we do fast together at once about situations.
Yeah, 100%. And an interesting thing on that is the persistence. It wasn't the first time. They prayed. They got together a few times, and the first couple times it didn't go their way. But they kept being persistent and kept escalating their prayers until they got an answer and actually got the result that they were looking for. Mm-hmm. So, So all right. So we did it. We got the final chapters of Judges. We did it. We got to the end, and we got through Samson, and we also got through the Benjamites. And again, there's a lot of meat there. We could have easily done like maybe 3 more lessons on just those topics alone. But I definitely wanted to at least have us put some, end the bookmarks here. But give me, what's your reflection on the Benjamites story, and then just Judges in general?
I think one thing that I take from it is also going off the Samson story, but one, understanding your own strength and understanding where your strength comes from, and truly understanding that, because that will make more. That's where your confidence will lie, and when your confidence lies there, then it's infinity. You will believe and know that you can do anything, because the God of Israel has you, and because you believe that, He'll be there. And then the second thing was the whole idea of you can be strong, but you also need to make sure that the people around you are strong too, because we need to be a unit. And so if we move as a unit, then we can be strong as a unit.
Yes.
And also to piggyback off of what Ezra was saying, that with Samson, even though he lost his physical strength, he didn't lose his spiritual strength. Because Samson, when his hair grew back, he knew to call upon the God of Israel. Not only did he call, he asked the boy to lead him to the main post. So it's like, in a way, I saw Samson repented. God of Israel, I know I did wrong. This is what I did wrong. But to avenge the Philistine that took my
Mm-hmm.
sons.
Mm-hmm.
Put me against the pole. And not only let me destroy them, but let me die with them. That was profound because
Yeah.
Samson used his spiritual strength. He didn't rely upon his physical strength, but his spiritual strength. And he defeated more dead than alive. He defeated
Yeah.
them with, oh, it was just awesome.
Yes. Yes.
I want to say I think what I got from this whole series is like, we did evil on the side of the Lord, and I think we saw examples of ways to stop it, which is really just us always, turning to the God of Israel, asking for him to help us and be there and believe that he will, like build up that, have that confidence, just like Samson, Gideon, and Jephthah, all of them, they had the confidence and they called on the God of Israel. And
Yes.
we won't repeat that cycle. So we can fight against repeating that cycle of always doing evil on the side of the Lord and then going through the punishment and then coming back and being enslaved and then asking and pleading and begging for help. But this time maybe we can plead and beg for help before we get to that point, before that break.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. Amen. And don't keep in mind again, I hope you guys enjoyed this series of the Judges. Definitely. The two main things again is the slavery being a punishment from the God of Israel and us for going against his law, statutes, commandments. But let's not lose sight. I think this story here in the last few chapters are also, let's forget about the oppression. The state of our community suffers even without the oppression of other people, if we don't have the foundation of our law, statutes, commandments in our life. So we really got to focus on those things. And these are things we definitely can take to us that are relevant for us today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, team. I have a great team here. Put 7 in there for the team we have here. Great team here. Thank everybody for showing up and for partaking in this whole series. Thank you again, Elder Shadrach, for your teachings and for your insights in helping us, definitely find our way in the Supreme Council. And thank you, everybody that's joined us today and throughout this whole series. Peace unto you, and take care till next time from the St. Louis branch. Peace.
Peace.